Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This session is all about streaming live about the enterprise search intelligently using GenAI. And a couple of housekeeping. This is being recorded. This session is being recorded. And please feel free to put your questions and answers into the Q&A tab, and also there will be some useful links that will be shared. Please, and an email will come to you after this session is done. So no need to get any panic stuff. So you will get whatever we are speaking. And then also for the colleagues who have joined from, or customers, prospects who have joined from Japan, we have captions coming up in Japanese language as well. So hope that this will be beneficial, and then useful to all. Thank you so much for joining in and tuning in on time. This is live on LinkedIn and other social media. And thanks to the team who has joined in today. So let me introduce the panel. Myself, my name is Henry Isaac. I run the alliances and strategic partnerships for data stacks across the APAC. And I have a couple of awesome leaders today with us, who's going to join us and speak about building smarter enterprise search with AI-powered retrieval. Let me introduce Paramdeep. Paramdeep is the co-founder of Short Hills AI, and he leads the GenAI initiatives. He comes with 2 decades of industry experience. Previously, he also co-founded EduPristine, which grew to be a market leader, and really very good contributor, and is interested in technologies, especially AI and ML. Thanks, Paramdeep, for joining this session and sharing your success story, and also giving your thoughts to the listeners, viewers, on how you have implemented this solution internally, and also your contributions, what's coming up. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Uh,
Welcome.
and we have Ganesh Sani, who's the Senior Partner Solutions Architect. He's a tenured Amazonian with nearly 8 years in AWS, currently leading the partner tech motion for all India AWS startups. He is a designated bar raiser in Amazon and a database subject matter expert. He previously worked in startups as a full stack developer in Geeks for Geeks, etc. So I think this is a brief. Thanks, Ganesh, for joining in this call.
Thanks, Henry. Thank you all.
Yeah. So to start off, my first question is to Paramdeep. Param, please tell us more about yourself, Shortles, and the idea behind creating this company.
Sure. So am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So I would like to welcome everybody who's sort of taking out time during their workday to sort of spend time with us, understand what we have been doing. Yeah. So see, at Shortels, we have been building NLP-based applications for the last 6-7 years when the term generative AI was not even coined. So our mission has been to sort of structure unstructured data and drive business value from the same. So in terms of building solutions, we have been sort of utilizing NLP, AI, Gen AI to drive customer insights from, let's say, unstructured data that could be in the form of logs, that could be in the form of what customers have said in terms of reviews, etc. And sort of off late, what we found was that there are a lot of enterprise customers that are looking to drive value from unstructured data. So, for example, let's say if you speak about a company that's working in the legal domain, they have a lot of legal documents. Till this point of time, it was almost impossible to drive any value out of that. You cannot put that in a Power BI. You cannot put that in any visualization software. It's almost impossible to utilize that data. You have the data, but you cannot utilize it. And now we have a great technology that can actually, one, meaningfully search information from this, two, summarize this information, three, question answer, help you question answer on top of this, and four, you can even sort of build a lot of metadata on top of this data, on top of this information. So thanks to awesome technology that AWS has built, thanks to awesome technology that data stacks have built, sort of we are utilizing some of this technology, like AWS Bedrock, like the vector search engine, the vector search that sort of data stacks has built, to actually drive real values for the customer. So that's what our mission has been. So just a little bit about me, as you said, sort of, I am a serial entrepreneur. This is the second organization that I'm building. My first one was in education, and I think that's again going to go through a lot of changes as AI and Gen AI seeps in.
Great. Henry, maybe if I can ask one question to Param.
Sure.
Definitely sounds quite an interesting use case, and we'll talk more about it. But Paramdeep, if you can share some insights, like in this competitive enterprise search solution market, can you maybe shed some light as to how Short Hills is leveraging GenAI, and how is GenAI actually helping you to stay ahead of the competition and differentiate your offerings with others?
Sure, sure. See, search has been there, and I think it's a tough problem to solve. So Google has been trying to solve it and solved it very well till now. But you can see that there is a lot of change that's happening in the industry. So all of a sudden, a lot of traffic is moving from just a keyword search, which was like building your own dictionaries in the past, to now actually machine understanding what you're looking for. So now machine can actually uh, understand what your real query is and then try to answer that. So till this point of time, there's a seismic shift now, right? So till this point of time, everybody was like looking at keywords, finding those keywords within text, and then sort of building an algorithm to figure out what could be the right answer to your question. Now all of a sudden machines understand, and thanks to generative AI, where sort of machines have started understanding language data, this has been possible. So in our case, when we started building enterprise search using generative AI, we started using with a basic RAG framework. And for those who don't understand RAG framework, I think we will have some details about what RAG is. But it's a retrieval augmented generation. In layman language, it will be like based on the query, you would go through your sort of document set, figure out the right document for yourself. So we started building with RAG. We found that sort of there were some inconsistencies that RAG had. Sometimes the language model would hallucinate. That means generate data on its own, and sometimes it would miss out important facts. So what we sort of the technology that actually sort of differentiates us from the rest is we build enterprise grade application. So we build a graph rack. So we build a graph out of the information that we have, and we can scale that graph building process using large language models and then search on top of that graph. The advantage of a graph obviously is that once you have the graph in place, then you can actually find meaningful relationships between different entities as well. And again sort of thanks to some awesome technology that the AWS and data stacks have built, it has actually, the solution is actually scaled. So most of the open source solutions, very very difficult to manage and scale that solution. But I think with the tools and technologies that AWS has, the Bedrock, the vector search that data stacks has, and especially some no code solutions like Langflow, we have really been able to sort of build scalable applications from there.
Yeah.
Thanks, Paramdeep.
Thanks, Param. I think you have touched upon the graph-based indexing. We are talking about
Mhm.
advanced vector search and also leveraging the tools and the GenAI technology in building scalable and secure solutions. And of course, customization is something that every enterprise looks at. So I think you have nailed it perfectly. And you also spoke about the basics, right? I mean, you defined RAG in a very simple way to understand for all the people who have tuned in. We really appreciate that. Now, Ganesh, you come with tons of experience and passion towards the new technology, especially Gen AI. And I would like you to articulate a bit, share with us, how do you really see what is this AI versus ML versus Gen AI, or like, these foundation models? If you can touch upon a bit about it from your knowledge, I'm sure basics in the beginning will be really helpful for everyone who has tuned in or is listening to us. Over to you, Ganesh.
Certainly, Henry. Maybe if we can share the slides, that would be good. For the next, I think, 5 odd minutes, I will try to share basics, and the folks who are relatively new to AI, machine learning, or the concepts like RAG, LLMs, foundation model. Trust me, in this 5 minutes, you will definitely get to learn at least the jargons or the basics, so that in market, when someone is discussing all of these things, you can actually hear and you can understand as to what they are trying to convey. So let's first get started with artificial intelligence, right? We have heard all of these terms quite interchangeably: AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, generative AI, right? What is the difference between all these four, right? If we can move ahead. Yeah. So if you look at AI, right, artificial intelligence is the broader concept of machines mimicking, a human intelligence. So for example, any machine which is trying to mimic a human intelligence, even if it's like a very small kind of a model which has like if else statements and it's just trying to do basic stuff, as long as it's trying to mimic some kind of human intelligence, that's what we call as artificial intelligence. And within artificial intelligence, we have machine learning, which is a subset of AI, which focuses on algorithms learning from data, trying to find patterns from the data to automatically create some logic out of the data. So for example, if you feed in a lot of data of male and female, or maybe apple and oranges, it will automatically try to find pattern as to what is considered an orange and what is considered as an apple. So that's what machine learning is. And within machine learning, you also have a subset which is called as deep learning. And when we say deep learning, it basically means that you have multi-layer of networks, multi-layer of neural networks. Neural network is basically used to kind of, you can understand it like machine learning model. So multiple layers of model and multiple layers of neural networks, very complex layer of neural networks that performs very complex tasks like speech and image recognition and so on and so forth. And within deep learning, you have generative AI, which is the talk of the hour, which is something we'll discuss. It's a type of AI that can help you create new content. It can be text, it can be images, videos, whatnot. Right? So it can help you generate these information based on what you wish to do. If I give you some examples, right, you can take AI like a voice assistant that you have in your phone and so on and so forth. So AI is more of a voice assistant. If you want to give recommendations to your customers, machine learning can maybe help you to understand what they have bought in the past, and that's machine learning. But if you want to create an art, if you want to create an image, if you want to create some summaries or text or summarize the entire document that you want, that's where generative AI comes into the picture. Next slide. Yeah. So generative AI is actually powered by something called as foundation models. So you keep on hearing these terms like large language models, foundation models. Very important to understand. So it's if we first start with large language model, these are basically AI models that are trained on vast amount of text data, unstructured text data, unlabeled text data, and these models automatically understand those text that can help them, or that enables these large language models to generate human-like text. But if you're looking at even more versatile AI, for example, if you just want to perform some tasks beyond language. For example, if you want to generate image or so on and so forth, we have foundation models, which again are trained on vast amount of unlabeled text per se. So that's more on LLMs and foundation model. Next slide, please. And very quickly, just giving you a brief about the AWS generative AI stack. What is it that AWS can offer you? From a generative AI task specifically, right? If you want to build something, if you want to bring generative AI to your customers and employee, you need the right capabilities to build with. It should be, for example, if you're looking at infrastructure, it should be performant, it should be cost efficient. Sorry. If you're looking at using foundation model for your application, you need to have a secure private way to build and scale powerful applications with foundation model. If you want a powerful like application or a powerful assistant when it comes to generative AI for your software development, for looking at your company's internal data and giving you some insights, that's also there. So at AWS, across these three layers, we give you functionalities or features or services that can actually help you. If you're looking at ready-made applications that can boost your productivity, you have Amazon Q Business and you have Amazon Q Developer. For example, you can automatically write code, look at the code, and during your software development lifecycle, you can find out what are the security issues and so on and so forth. That's more on the application side. But if you're just looking at using the models, either Amazon models or even the partner models that we have, right? You can use those models and you can leverage them in your application to generate text, to summarize text, to create images, to edit images, all of that stuff, right? Then we have Amazon Bedrock, which gives you a lot of foundation models, lot of LLMs that you can actually use in your application. Now, For the next stage, which is infrastructure, where you want to build and train your AI model, if you need a lot of customization on top of your LLMs, if you want to, host the LLMs, or if you just want to host your machine learning model, you have SageMaker AI, which is our managed infrastructure service. And you also have infrastructure, the resources, the instances that you can actually use, AWS Trainium and inferential instances, as well as GPUs that you can actually buy and you can start using on demand as per your usage. Next slide. I'll keep it fairly quick so that you understand the basics, and then we'll move to the much more interesting part, which is more about short hills and also a demo. So before we go ahead, I think RAG is going to be very important. You will keep on hearing this term RAG across this session, so very important for you to understand. So RAG is called as Retrieval-Augmented generation. It's basically a technique that enhances the AI model outputs by referencing the external knowledge sources before it generates responses. It basically helps the AI system provide more accurate and up-to-date information. For example, if you have a chatbot, right, a normal chatbot, it could be using a RAG to consult the company's latest policy documents to answer the customer queries more accurately. For example, customer has recently changed their policy on the insurance or whatever it is. It will take that data and it will try to answer the query of the customer in a more customized or in a more precise manner, and that's where RAG comes into the picture. So that's the overall definition of RAG. Sorry. Next slide, please. And just to share a couple of benefits of RAG, while we'll discuss more about different types of RAG and how Short Hill's journey was while using RAG and implementing all of that stuff. It basically helps you with the content quality. uh, the LLMs don't give, or LLMs, rather than hallucination is something that where LLMs might give you an answer that you don't expect them to answer. Rather than that, it actually reduces hallucination, and it connects the answers with the recent knowledge. Very important, right? It gives the context. It is very contextual when you're using RAG. It gives you contextual information when it comes to question answering. Plus personalized search. So in a RAG, you can have the search histories of the customer, and it can give you a very personalized response, very personalized search recommendation, and so on and so forth. Plus, it can also give you real-time data summarization. So, for example, if the customer if customer's transactional data is stored in a database on an API call, it can actually use the RAG benefits, and it can actually leverage the data to give real-time summarization. That's more on the basics, but I hope the basics are clear, and we can move to the exciting part. But if you have any questions, just paste it on the chat window, and one of us one of us will try to answer. Sorry. Henry, a question to you. Being named as the leader for hybrid databases by Forrester. Sorry.
Yeah,
it would
it's
be
fine.
it would be it would be good to hear your thoughts on how data stacks and Astra can actually leverage the AI platform. Apologies.
Yep. Thanks, Ganesh. Awesome. I think the basics are definitely clear for the whole team who have been listening, especially the way how you articulated the different, differences between AI, ML, and the Gen AI. What are the key components of it? What should they be looking at, right? While considering, and also, you have covered most of it, like how AWS brings value in terms of helping customers build their GenAI application, the whole platform that is there, and also DataStax kind of platform which is available on the marketplace. So yes, Forrester has named us as the leader in the hybrid databases, and we are the only leader there, where we are the data platform for both the NoSQL and also the vector hybrid databases that you can create from a single platform. So with this, I want to share a few of the slides, and then to just give a glimpse of what we are talking about. Can we just bring the slides up, please? Awesome. So we believe that accuracy is the key right now, and most of the viewers or most of the listeners here, they know data stacks more as a data layer or a data platform for unstructured and structured data. There is a phenomenal innovation that we have been doing in partnerships with our customers, aligning about the use cases that we hear on a day-to-day basis. And actually, the main component now that is really required is a knowledge layer, right? So how can you make your data discoverable and understandable by the AI, right? Because we know that there is no AI without data. And we also heard that there is no AI without unstructured data. And there is no AI without unstructured data at scale. So when we have the data layer, how can we make it discoverable? Is something that we have been really working, and then a great job by our engineers. You can actually leverage this. And also we came out with some dev tools, right? Because developers love something which they can use on a single platform and then quickly build around it, play around with it, and then make their hands dirty, fail, but again recover, and then do a test bench as well, right? So we have intuitive dev tooling, and then all these are now coming in terms of how we can leverage the power of the LLMs like Amazon Bedrock, and then integrate with it, and then we can actually look at what are the different tools in the next slide that's going to coming up. So when we are seeing a knowledge layer is not just a vector search, it's something more than a vector search. And then this actually has to be faster, it should be accurate, it should also have a multi-vector capability, it can be multiple formats, you can see it on the screen. Don't worry, this recording will be shared with you. And also the graph rack, right? I think even Param has touched upon this in an earlier thing, that graph rag is something that people generally go look at another tool or build it into the system and all. But we as a data stacks have thought about how can we bring this all together into one layer which composes mostly of these four things. One is the vector search, graph rag, multi-vector, and hybrid search. And we have seen some phenomenal key metrics, and these are available for you, which are there on datastacks.com. But feel free to reach out to us or post in the Q&A, or reach out, ping it. There are some links that we are going to give at the end of it. And then actually how this all comes as a platform, we will see it in the next slide. Yep. So we basically are now delivering the knowledge layer by bringing in all these solutions together, and then offering this to the customers, Ganesh, to answer your question.
Super. I think that was quite helpful, Henry. Um, Maybe a question to Paramdeep. I think we have been at the brink of innovation, right? We have seen how short ends has kind of involved, right? Very important to understand. Maybe if Paramdeep, you can help us share your thoughts on how did you balance the innovation speed with the data privacy governance in the AI-powered search application that you've built.
Sure, sure. And if somebody can bring up the the complete design slide, the architecture slide, I think that'll be helpful. So I'll just take you through some of the sort of key challenges that our developers faced while creating this scalable application. I think I think if you go to an enterprise customer, one of the biggest issue they face is with respect to privacy, and then making sure that the data governance is handled properly. And I think AWS has brought in some tools that are really phenomenal. So, for example, let's say if you're looking for HIPAA compliance, SOC compliance, AWS tools, most of them are sort of compliant right off the bat. So you don't have to worry about implementing them on your own. Apart from that, we did utilize a full scale of tools, a full sort of stable of tools that AWS provides for this compliance. For example, IAM roles, for example, setting up VPCs. So those are like the basic building blocks on which the application needs to be built. And if you sort of try to do this on your own, let's say if you just try to do this on any other cloud, this does take a lot of effort. But I think AWS has built some tools that are really phenomenal in terms of letting you focus on the business logic, and AWS takes care of the infrastructure on its own. So I think that's all kudos to you. So for me, I think the most useful tools were sort of setting up rules, setting up a key management system, then sort of making sure that sort of the HIPAA compliance, all the data compliances are already there. Now, once you have this, then the next layer that takes the most amount of time, and my experience is that sort of the DevOps piece of it. So let's say if you were to pick up any open source software right off the shelf, so it does take a lot of effort to run the DevOps piece. So for example, how do you build the Kubernetes layer? So sometimes uh, building that security, scaling that solution itself becomes an issue. And there, I think DataStax has built some awesome tools that scale very well. So, for example, AstraDB, you can put as many vectors as you want. We have sort of implemented this at millions of sort of documents. So, millions of documents would have like hundreds of millions of vectors in the database, and the database scales just like itself effortlessly. So it manages the DevOps on its own. The second issue, I think, is that as you democratize AI, coding becomes an issue. And interestingly, now we have tools like Langflow that help us sort of stitch up at least the first piece of the pipeline on its own. So we utilize all these tools. And then obviously you have to still build the business logic to scale. So that means the business innovation still has to be done by someone. And that's where we utilized sort of our accelerators that we have built. Can somebody just put up the slides? So the accelerators that we have built using the tools. So that allowed us to focus on building the technology rather than on building the technology just Sonia, on building the technology, the logic layer. Can you just make it full screen? Yeah. So building the technology layer rather than focusing just on the aspects related to DevOps or the background security of it. So, for example, we were able to build a host of tools. So, for example, that can search, that can summarize, question answering, build agentic workflow, work on top of legal documents, work on top of RFPs, work on top of medical documents. And that was made possible just because all these layers were taken care of by solutions providers like AWS and DataStax. So they sort of built the foundation layer on top of which it made us easy to write a studio which had so many features, and sort of customers loved the overall features that we were able to build.
Super helpful, Paramdeep. I think it was quite nice to see your testimony about leveraging AWS and data science.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome, Param. I think you have covered it really well in terms of how we have used technologies, especially for the data privacy and the governance. Because now people are talking about responsible AI in a regulated industry, right? So I think you have clarified most of it, that through technology, all this can be solved. It's just a matter of leap of faith that the customers have on the technologies that are available from AWS, DataStax, and shorthills.ai, by which we can really cover in terms of how the VPC endpoints secure the network, and how Amazon Text Track automates the text extraction exclusively or entirely with the security, right? So, and again, a scalable architecture which is available in at least 47 regions across the globe by AWS, which is phenomenal, right? So, I have a question for you, Param. Having worked with all this, building a product, not that easy. This is your second product that you have been launching. How was your team's experience, right? Especially working with AWS and the data stacks. Maybe if you can share any top of mind recall, so that whoever are viewing this or tuned into this get benefited out of it. So maybe your top of mind recall, and also your team's experience working with AWS and data stacks.
Sure. So, see, on the top of mind, it's the infrastructure layer that has been built by both the AWS and data stacks. That was very helpful. But I think eventually it's human that's sort of connecting with humans. So it's not just the technology, but eventually we are all dealing with people. I'm dealing with you, Henry, and with Ganesh. So I think bringing that connection is still very important, even though we have cloud tools that work right off the shelf that you can click and they work absolutely fine. But still, I think it's the human that connects with the human. And there again, I found both AWS and DataStax teams to be sort of very, very responsive and very helpful. So I was in SFO. I met the DataStax team in there. So very responsive. So AWS is right across our office. I meet a lot of people at the AWS office. Again, very responsive. I think the technology has to work off the shelf. That's like a hygiene factor these days. So if the technology does not work, the kind of friction that it creates is just mind-boggling. So I think the customers will just run off. So interestingly, both the technologies work very well. But I think still, to build a successful product, you still need a human connection, and that's where I found both AWS and DataStax team to be very responsive, very helpful. Wherever we faced any issues, we could literally ping your support, and the support is very responsive. Or let's say leaders like you or Ganesh, and sort of we could get all the help that we needed to get a scalable product in place.
Yeah, thank you so much. There's a question actually that has come up, and I think I'll just should we wait till the last? Probably, yeah, we can wait till the last. So, over to you. Yeah, thanks, Param, for explaining it.
Yeah, I think it was definitely music to our ears. I'm sure Henry would also feel that. Param, thanks for sharing all those good words about AWS and data stacks. But more from a technology standpoint,
Yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
while
Yeah, yeah. So I was going to. So I think I've been answering a lot of questions. I
yeah,
wanted to go next. So I
sure,
wanted to ask you. So both of you. So obviously, see, we have been focused on our customer base and serving them. And obviously, AWS DataStax has been working with a lot many more partners. And I'm sure you would have seen other use cases coming up in the AI space. So and I think as audience, as sort of as people who are working in the Gen A space, which is evolving very fast, I would really love to understand from you, as in what are the new interesting use cases that are coming up, how sort of AWS helping other use cases become successful.
sure, Param. Henry, should I answer or?
Yeah, please go ahead, please. Thanks, Ganesh.
Sure. I think great question. I think we talk from my experience. Many of our customers are now actually leveraging the powerful combination of AWS and data stacks to drive innovation and achieve remarkable business outcomes. You are one of those examples as well, right? So we are seeing organizations across various industries harness this partnership to build scalable, reliable, and even performant applications which are actually using generative AI. For instance, we have seen customers in fintech space using our AWS technologies, GenAI services like Bedrock, alongside data stacks, SRDB offering to create business use case like creating knowledge articles from disparate internal sources, drafting investment research, loan documentation, insurance policy, regulatory communications, RFIs, so on and so forth. Right? And that's done all through the power of GenAI. And not just the fintech domain, even in the healthcare domain, right? Healthcare customers are another great sector where we have seen innovation being used for use cases like intelligent patient records processing. In fact, we had the chance of meeting such a customer in the beginning of this year itself, generating draft treatment plans as well, using the power of GenAI. While there are many other use cases as well as case studies, which are all available publicly, we have actually seen many of these customers vouching very verbally about the partnership, right? And I think we have close to 4 or 5. Henry, keep me honest. We have close to 4 or 5 customer testimonies who have
Yeah.
already, verbally vouched for this partnership. So that's awesome in itself. Plus, I think my Henry and myself, we met a couple of customers in the manufacturing domain a few days back, and we are now actually looking how those customers are actually using GenAI and their SRDB for text generation for contracts, SOPs, building customer service, agent assistance, so on and so forth. Right? And even in the media domain, we see a lot of customers building near real time narrative generation. For example, they're looking at sports statistics and news and creating those narratives out of it in real time. So that's an awesome use case in itself, right? Plus, I've also seen a lot of customers actually vouching for this partnership specifically because they're able to observe the value of GenAI within just like 2 weeks or so, just after using both of these services together. So overall, it's definitely a positive sentiment across from customers. But yeah, that's something I wanted to share.
Yeah, I think where really we have been adding value, not only just in terms of the verticals and the, but we have been able to help them move into production, right? Because the key is starting using that, and then then really taste how it looks like, and then on top of it they keep innovating, right? So especially India and APAC, we are definitely smarter folks there, engineers who really want to keep trying new stuff. So there is a mundane stuff that they have been doing, but they are adding more and more features so that end of the day their customers get the benefit of it. and then they have the whole process. So Param, I want to just come back to you with one question. What advice would you give to organizations dealing with large volumes of unstructured data and struggling to extract the real insights, or are unable to look at the search capabilities? And then what would be your advice for such organizations, especially in the verticals that we spoke about, or the use cases that you are seeing on your day-to-day interactions?
Sure. See, I would say that sort of a lot of developers have the habit of getting into programming before they can figure out the full business solution. So my advice would be to whenever you're dealing with large unstructured data, that means it could be GBs or TBs of data that you're dealing with. The first aspect would be to sort of figure out the data engineering piece of it. So that means, let's say, get your data right. Unless you can get your data right, there is no way you can get your AI piece right. So there again, sort of the AWS tools like Redshift, Glue, they give you the capability to sort of wrangle with a lot of data. So if you have sort of loads and loads of data that you want to wrangle with, use Redshift, Glue to sort of clean that up. Once you have relatively cleaner data, and that all should be a part of planning before you start implementing. So once you have relatively clean data, then sort of my advice would be to sort of try and experiment and then see sort of how you can drive value from the data. So try smaller experiments, try POCs, and then see as in what is actually delivering results. Because a lot of time we feel sort of that AI has arrived and it's easy to drive value out of AI, but it's not easy. You have to sort of struggle still and then get value out of the data. And there again, I feel sort of self-managed tools like let's say data stacks provide AstraDB, Langflow. They help you stitch up these pipelines fast. So there again, I would encourage people to sort of, at least when they're starting out, to try these self-managed solutions and then see if they would drive value out of that. So a lot of time, again, our sort of hope is that we will download some open source software and drive value out of that. It's going to be difficult to drive that value because your important time is going to be lost in sort of struggling with getting the infra layer up. So there again, I would say that sort of it's important to figure out what parts of solution should work and then try them out, get the POC right. Once you have the POC, then obviously you take a call on how you scale the solution. And again, sort of I've seen your solutions to scale very well. AWS obviously scales very well. But again, I would say take one step at a time, get the POC out of the door, and then get there. One more advice that, and again, sort of it's like tooting my own horn,
Yeah,
would
you
be
can
to
share it.
sort
Yeah.
of would be to obviously go with a partner that has experience of scale data. So and somebody who has built some tools that can help you get the sort of get the rubber hitting the road rather than you trying everything on your own. So there again, I found value whenever we have engaged with experts. I found value that if they had the right tools in place, the overall sort of cycle to get the things up and running was much smaller in nature. So there again, sort of my advice would be to engage with experts who have handled large volumes of data.
Sure, Param. It will be awesome if you can show a demo to the viewers so that they can see it in live,
Sure,
because they're getting streaming live, so that they get a feel of the use case, that
sure,
how you have implemented it. So it will be amazing to show that. Maybe after that, we'll come back on the questions that have come in. Some amazing questions that also have come in now, which I am able to see it. But first, we want to see, because that I think will give a great idea to everyone. So over to you,
makes
Param, to show across or demonstrate us the value what you are bringing to the table.
sure. So can somebody just either play the video initially or yeah.
Hello everyone. Today I'll be demonstrating our optimized RAG chatbot, a powerful tool designed to enhance search capabilities for enterprise data using vector search and graph indexing. Before diving into the demo, let's quickly understand what RAG is and how our RAG solution is different. RAG stands for Retrieval-Augmented Generation, which means a technique that enhances LLM's output by integrating them with external data sources to produce more accurate responses. While Optimized RAG is an advanced version of RAG with graph-based indexing and a dual-level retrieval strategy to generate contextually more relevant responses. Now, for the demo, both these chatbots have been trained on the legal data sets, and at the end, we'll see the overall performance measures between the two. I will run 2 queries for the demo purpose. So let's start with optimized RAG. This is the first query. Here's the response from normal RAG chatbot and optimized RAG. And now let's compare their answers. While optimized RAG tells us about a big work layoff and shows clearly that Holman's problems at work were not about being a woman, but about her own behavior, normal RAG leaves out the story of the big layoff. So it's missing a big piece of the puzzle. We can clearly see that optimized RAG offers a more comprehensive and persuasive explanation than normal RAG. It has reduction in force context and detailed systemic bias analysis that helps in understanding the situation at present. Let's go to the next query. These are the responses from both the chatbots. Here, as you can see, normal RAG only shares part of the story, leaving out key steps like the second hearing and why the last decision was truly final, and leaves the important dates from the case. On the other hand, optimized RAG tells the whole story about all the times court asked for help, got told no, went to court, went back again, and how the judge finally decided. It provided second ALJ hearing and appeals council decision and key ALJ findings that are important for this case. So these were the 2 queries for today's demo. In summary, optimized RAG delivers better and contextually relevant responses. Here we have summarized the optimized RAG performance in terms of comprehensiveness, diversity, and empowerment for the legal data set. And in all these parameters, optimized RAG has outperformed normal RAG. It has been built in partnership with AWS Technologies for building secure and scalable AI apps and DataStax, AstroDB, and Langflow for high-performance vector search and real-time data processing. That's it from my side. Thank you for your time.
So I think just to summarize, I think the solution we have found to work very well on top of legal documents, on top of healthcare documents, and sort of get the right results in place. And 2 key problems I think in most of these industries, especially the ones that are regulated, so insurance, healthcare, legal, is that you cannot miss out important aspects. So you have to make sure that none of the important aspects are missed. And there I find figuring out the right graphs. So that means graph rack or some version of graph rack does play a very important role. And the second important part, at least from LLM perspective, is hallucination. So you don't want the solution to be giving out answers that are not accurate in nature. So, and again, sort of these techniques that we have built, proprietary techniques that we have built, they make sure that sort of the hallucination and the completeness is solved. So that's sort of important, at least for some industries. That's going to be very, very important.
Yeah, thanks for sharing the demo. Actually, I'm sure this is useful. For any more details or for your customer, if anybody of you are interested, I'm sure Param and the team would reach out to you. We'll be more than happy to hear your use case. What search are you doing, and how this, enhanced search, using a Gen AI technology, can be helpful compared to a normal RAG, and the approach that shortlist.ai has been taken. So with this, I think, Param, I again come back to you, with a question on, for example, your experience you have shared working with us, and then how is Short Hills leveraging AWS and data stacks today, and what is it in the future that you really look at?
Sure. See, I already told sort of we have been using key components from both AWS and DataStax. I think From data stacks perspective, the most important components, if I just go down the stack, I think the most important components have been using Langflow to quickly build and stitch these pipelines. So it's an awesome tool where, let's say, business users, product managers, they can quickly uh, try out building these pipelines and then see how they work. If they deliver value, you can obviously scale with code. That's not an issue at all. But at least getting the first version out, I think Langflow is an awesome tool. Uh, Unless you get the graph piece right, there's no way you can scale the application. So you cannot remove hallucination of that. So there again, I think I have seen AstraDB in my sort of experience has been an awesome tool that scales very well, that is very performant, reliant. So we have found it very useful. If you just go beneath that layer again, sort of the infra layer, AWS Bedrock is very cost effective. You can start with a smaller model, see if your POC is working, then go to a larger model. You have the option and flexibility of utilizing a model that just does the job for you. You can use a Llama, you can use a Llama 3B, you can use an Anthropic model. Everything is available, and you're not bound by any particular model. The API stays consistent. You can utilize that, fine tune your own on your own data, still deploy it on AWS Bedrock, and sort of get the real value out of that. Apart from that, obviously AWS has its own infrastructure in place that sort of helps you scale the applications. So that's what my experience has been working with data stacks and AWS. So I do find a lot of value in our overall stack building technologies using both the data stacks and AWS.
Yeah, thanks for that. Can you just share, like, what's next for shuttles in the GenAI space? Any roadmap that is shareable, so that companies which are looking at can actually get to know, hey, because most of the times we would love to look at the roadmap, right? And then see if anything new is coming in, and then, yeah, if you can share that.
Sure. See, within the legal space, we have built these tools that can help you search for documents. Now, one use case that's going to be important as we move forward, now that copilots and agentic AI is coming in place, is going to be sort of legal document writing, and we already have the POC up and running. So that means if there is an incoming legal case, can you use AI to start responding to the document? So till this point, it's mostly the lawyers who have been sort of writing these documents. It's a very manual process. But we feel, at least for a subset of those cases, AI is going to be very successful. And especially with agentic AI coming in, I think it's just going to sort of make humans work very, very easy. So that's our sort of next focus area, utilizing agentic AI and sort of trying to solve new business use cases and drive value for customers. And there again, I feel sort of AWS has the right technologies. You have the right technology in terms of how we can utilize that and get these agents out of the door very soon. So, for example, we have built a POC using Langflow for agentic AI. We think it can do very well.
Nice. So, Ganesh, coming to you, what do you think are the critical success factors when customers are building GenAI applications that can be deployed, or we help them in production? So any success factors that you really see the CXOs and the tech geeks talking to you on that? And what barriers do you as a leader see, that you think are getting GenAI applications into production?
Yeah, very important, Henry. I think before people begin on generative AI, while this is a buzz and it's an exciting term to really go ahead with, it's very important for customers to kind of figure out what they really want to do and whether generative AI is not just a buzzword, but actually helps them in the business. So that initial evaluation is very important. Sometimes a customer may not even need generative AI. The use case may not even be, relevant from an ROI perspective, from a business standpoint, right? So all those discussions need to happen first. And it's not an heavy lifting that they need to do themselves. They can reach out to us, they can reach out to AWS data stacks, and we can help them and guide them that, hey, this is the best strategy for you. Sometimes they can use managed services, they can use the normal AI services as such, right? Rather than using LLMs, foundation models, and so on and so forth. So very important to keep that track. And once they have decided, it's very important for them to, kind of have the right services, right infrastructure. I think I saw one question on the similar lines as well in the chatbot. That you need to have the right set of services, right set of infrastructure. Sometimes customers feel that hey, they don't want to kind of manage infrastructure. They want to have a managed service like Bedrock can help them in that case. Sometimes customer wants high level of customization. They are very deep on machine learning, so appropriately they might want to use SageMaker AI. I'm just throwing out terms here, but what I'm trying to say is it's very important for them to have the right products, right scalable secure infrastructure, or the service or whatever it is. And not just that, once they have built, uh, it's very important to do an iterative check, monitor it, keep on updating it. Sometimes you'll have to develop some parts of it again. So very important to have that life cycle of that particular product, understand the ROI, where it's working, where it's not, and then have those customization which they need. So very important from a success factor is all these factors. You
Thanks.
also asked about you also asked about the barriers to production. So
Yeah.
what we have seen is a lot of customers, especially from compliance standpoint, right? And India has various regulations, various compliance, and security frameworks, and regulatory standards that need to be met, right? So I've seen a couple of customers, having that as a barrier to production. But then again, all of those can be mitigated. We have the right, teams, right specialists within our organization, which can actually help. And you also need to have that integration with your current applications, right? If you're trying to onboard GenAI in your application, or in your all of the workload that you're running, it's very important to have that integration between the GenAI modules as well as your current application. We discussed about RAG. That's just one part of it, but you need to have that integration with the legacy system. So
Yeah.
a couple of barriers there.
Perfect. Thanks, Ganesh. I think you have nailed it perfectly in terms of telling what they should keep in mind and what are the things that they should be aware of. And it's all about true partnership, trying the services the best of the breed that are available. I'll take a couple of questions that are there on this. What is the best alternative for Pinecone that prioritize privacy and comply with regulatory regulations like GDPR and HIPAA? I'll take this question. I would refer you to look at the Forrester report that has come in recently, where they definitely spoke about multiple databases. It's not me telling about Pinecone, but there are studies, and then we have some reports done by a third party, which very clearly says why you should look at DataStax Astra. Definitely is a great differentiator that we can look at. And then we also have seen that, like, while Pinecone, I mean, it came in the report, like, that Pinecone has enterprise scale, but does not have a comprehensive vector capabilities, right? So DataStax Astra has got the vector capabilities because it's backed by a very strong data platform built on Cassandra. So basically, we have reports showing that. And then I would recommend you to read that report and also write to us explaining about what your use case is, so that we can suggest you what is right and what is not. Because every use case will have a different model. Of course, we have HIPAA, GDPR, ISO 27001, PCI DSS, whatever is required, because it's very tough. We are available on AWS Marketplace, though that itself goes through a lot of testing and compliances that we need to really gather. So Astra is definitely a great platform to look at. This is available on the marketplace, AWS. We have some starter pack which is available. Links will be sent to you. You can try on that. You can buy it through the marketplace. So that's the first question I want to take. And then I think, yeah, Johnny also has pushed about the trust.datastacks.com, which actually you can look at as the thing. And then there is another question, like, with so many options available, how can I choose the right product or service to build a solution? I'm looking for a structured approach or a set of rules to select the best service, because for a single problem, I often find multiple solutions. Testing everything is not practical, as it leads to wasted time and money. I request either Param or Ganesh to volunteer and take this.
Sure. Passing on the difficult questions to us, Henry. But fair enough. No worries. I can try to take that up.
Please.
First of all, let me empathize. And this is me answering this question personally. When choosing, let's just first look at the AWS services in itself. Right, we have 200 plus services. So when choosing the right AWS service, it can often feel overwhelming with so many options available. Right. uh, I wish there was a one answer that could really give a direct or a specific approach here, but I can maybe give you a high level structured approach. First of all, it's very imperative for you to clearly define your requirements and understand your own workload. Then maybe use tools like well-architected framework that we have within AWS that guides you across six pillars: operational excellence, security, reliability, performance, and cost optimization, and I think sustainability. So around all these pillars, it will help you evaluate as to how you can take a decision, which tool you can use, and so on and so forth. Right? We also have a specialist within the teams, and in case you're wondering that, hey, I'm still lost, and I don't know which service to take forward, and how do we go about building this particular thing. In the backend, we have partners. DataStax is one of them, but we also have AWS teams, AWS experts. You can consult with them. You can reach out to us. We can give you that tailored advice, and we can help you build a balanced technical and business needs approach to use a particular service and build that model. I try to answer it, but I wish there was one answer or one if-else loop that I could give you. But yeah, Paramdeep or Henry, if you want to add anything I missed.
Yeah. So I think what you said definitely makes sense. So obviously there are a plethora of tools that are available. So again, my advice would be to start small. So start with one tool. Don't over evaluate the tools. I think start with something, get it out of the door, and then see if sort of it helps you scale. Again, sort of Forrester, Gartner, they do provide some guidelines on which sort of tools seem to be scaling well. Obviously, you can get to G2 reviews and then stuff like that to get more details. But I personally feel sort of experts add a lot of value. AWS has its experts. So engage with somebody who has sort of solved that problem in the past. I think that I think helps a lot.
Yeah. There's another question actually. I've found DataStax AstraDB vector search efficient for search queries. What is the advantage of having the other components shown in the knowledge layer in addition to this? If possible, could you provide a use case? Yeah, so I'll just touch upon this and maybe I'll send more details to you over an email so that you understand it. Basically, the thought process behind this is that, as I told you, right, we deliver your knowledge layer. Knowledge is definitely required to, again, like, democratize the data, right? On top of how can you make your data discoverable, right? So, example, like, how can it understand the language of it? Right, so if you go to Netflix and ask for show me the ghost movies, right, you may not optimally find it, but you can actually incorporate it. We have found a use case by which you can build that on, right? So it can pull out to you what are the ghost stories. So for that, what are required, there are multiple other things that are like, like a vector search should be a part of it, of course. Then there should be a graph rag of it, of how you can enhance that search capabilities and how it can take a multi-dimensional vector use case. Even in a simple e-commerce use case, example, I'm looking for, say, something to buy, in this color, this size, this money, at this place, around it, right? There are multiple vectors that come into it, and there is also a sentiment that comes in as well based on the latest that's happening around, the trends that are going on, the demographics that are there, based on the age limit, the region, right? Different choices that we have. So that's where even the hybrid search comes in. We just launched hybrid search actually, which again brings 45% relevancy. We'll share that link with you post this call. So we basically believe that all this together will form the knowledge layer. And also we are providing Langflow, which again Param has just touched upon, and data API, which actually pulls the data from multiple formats which are available, right? End of the day, there should be APIs to integrate with multiple technologies. While we integrate with Q, SageMaker, Amazon Bedrock, we also work with Shortlis.ai as they launch their platform, more and more to come in. So net data layer plus the knowledge layer plus the dev tools all form, actually there can be SDKs for multiple languages that are required. There are AI libraries that are available. There are Gen AI frameworks that are there. It should be able to interact on that. And again, like, this should be actually like, kind of a combination of like, say, scalable NoSQL vector search plus LLM like Amazon Bedrock integrations with them. Then we have got the APIs, we have got the developer experience, and then the integration layer, which comes again with the low code, no code development and deployment. Hope that it answers your question. Before I let the panel go, I just want to ask one last question to Ganesh and Param. Paran, what advice would you give to other developers aiming to succeed with data and adopt a customer-centric approach, like how Shorthills has done? So maybe if you want to add a couple of points, which they can take it as a key takeaway.
Sure. So I would say start with the customer problem. So if there's one thing that actually can make you successful, start with the customer issue. So look at the KPI that the customer is trying to optimize for, and as Ganesh said, then sort of go in for AI or Gen AI. So you should not be starting with AI and Gen AI and then going to the customer problem. Sort of start the other way around. Start with the problem and then try to solve it.
Thanks, Param. Ganesh?
Yeah, I think on the similar lines itself, just a plus one to Paramdeep. Very important to not just be attracted to the buzzwords, but actually look at the problem statement, what you're trying to solve for your end clients, and then work backwards from it. So yeah, that I would suggest.
Yeah. There is one question which I think it's more about talking about himself. Like, I mean, I don't know whether I can read this, but guys, what it really tells about is um, like, human becoming lazy, then AI could be serious threat to our civilization. What about your opinion? It's about like, the co-pilot and things like those coming in. So because I've heard many places, right? While all this technology will be co-pilot, the pilot still will be the human who drives it, right? End of the day, we are solving a problem, and Gen AI or AI is going to be there for some more time because it's more human like, right? So we are trying to build it, but again, end of the day, this all will only help enhance. And whenever this new things comes in, there is something more that is there for us to reach. So that's how I look at it. But Param and Ganesh, if you want to just touch upon that, just to finish the last question.
Yeah, it's like when you moved from bullock carts to, I don't know, we moved to an aeroplane. So does it remove the human involvement? No, actually, it actually increases the human involvement in travel. So there were just so many people who could walk or use a bullock cart, but now so many more you actually utilize the automobiles that are there. So I think it's just going to improve what we do. I think it will just improve what we do, but we'll be doing much more than what we're doing right now.
Yeah. Ganesh, anything, any closure remarks from you, Ganesh? Thank you so much for joining in, Param and Ganesh. So, any closure, final remarks from Ganesh? Then we'll end this session today.
Yeah, I think if you feel or if you have any problem statement in your mind, or if you want to do something better for your end clients, we are there for you. All three of us, our teams, we can really help you build that structure around it. Looking forward to more collaboration.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Param. Thanks, Ganesh. Sorry, guys, we extended by 3 minutes, but I think it was useful. These links will be shared with you. Please reach back to any of us. We'll ensure that those are answered. And you like it, you give your feedback. I think it's more encouraging for us. Thanks to all the teams who have put this together, and pretty pumped up to see that we can build smarter enterprise search with AI powered retrieval. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.